Billionaire sees waiter fired for hiding. His sick brother, what she does. Next changes everything. Maya had been working at the Grand Ivory restaurant for 3 years, and in all those years, she had never once been late, never once complained, and never once asked for a single favor from anyone. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? She was the kind of woman who carried the weight of the world on her shoulders and still managed to smile at every customer who walked through the door. And on that cold Tuesday evening in November, the restaurant was packed with the city's most powerful people. Glittering chandeliers, lighting up tables draped in white linen, crystal glasses clinking against the soft hum of a jazz quartet. And Maya moved through it all like a quiet storm, balancing plates and pouring wine with perfect grace, until she slipped into the back hallway for just 2 minutes. 2 minutes that would cost her everything. Because hidden in the staff storage room was her younger brother, Daniel, just 17 years old, burning with fever, his school clothes soaked in sweat. Because he had nowhere else to go since their mother had been rushed to the hospital that morning, and Maya had no one to leave him with, and she could not afford to lose this job. Not for a single day, not even for a single hour. So she had smuggled him in and told him to stay quiet and still, and she had gone back to her tables and pretended everything was fine. But the restaurant manager, Mr. Griffith, a cold and rigid man who prided himself on his flawless establishment, discovered Daniel curled up behind a shelf of extra tablecloths, and he came out onto the floor with fury in his eyes and called Maya's name loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear, and she walked toward him with her chin up even as her heart broke. And he told her she was finished, that she had violated every rule, that she had no place in his restaurant. And he said it all in front of everyone, in front of the glittering crowd, in front of the jazz quartet that had gone quiet, and in front of one man in particular, a man named Richard Hale, who was seated alone at table 7, who had come in without fanfare or bodyguards, dressed simply in a grey coat, a man that most of the staff did not recognize, but who happened to be one of the wealthiest individuals in the country, a man who had grown up desperately poor, who had once been a sick child with no one to help him, and who sat very still as he watched Maya untie her apron with shaking hands and walk to the back to get her brother. And something in that moment broke open something old and deep inside of him, because he had seen the look on her face. Not shame, not anger, just a mother-like exhaustion and a fierce love, the look of someone who had been trying to hold every broken piece together with bare hands. And Richard Hale stood up from his table, set down his napkin, and walked straight to Mr. Griffith and introduced himself quietly. And when the manager's face went pale with recognition, Richard did not raise his voice. He simply said that he would be withdrawing his planned investment in the restaurant group, a deal worth several $1 million, unless the woman was rehired immediately with a formal apology. And then he walked to the back hallway, where Maya was helping Daniel into his coat. And he crouched down to Daniel's eye level and asked how he was feeling. And Daniel looked up with glassy eyes and said he was okay. And Richard said he didn't look okay and asked if Maya had a moment to sit. And she looked at him confused and exhausted and said she had just lost her job. And he said he knew. And he handed her his card and said he was looking for someone to manage the community outreach office he had been trying to open for 2 years. Someone with integrity. Someone who understood what it meant to fight for people who had nothing. And he said he thought she might be exactly that person. And Maya stood there in that back hallway holding her feverish brother's hand and a stranger's business card. And for the first time that entire terrible day, she let herself cry, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming and unfamiliar feeling of being truly seen. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Kindness True Stories. Your support helps us bring more stories of hope and humanity to the world every day.